Guess you want to hear something hilarious?
Try me.
I did not press record. So you're gonna have to send me your stream. You're gonna have to send me this one. So when you're done your 9-hour stream, just go ahead and download it and upload and send it to me so I can cut this piece out.
Yo, you are so fucking lucky.
Represent, gotta do it hella big, had to run it back again, get light it up. Gotta do it.
What's going on, everybody? And y'all now rocking with the best podcast in Snap, the Marvel Snapcast. And I am your co-host, the top 5 best snappers in the world. Cino. Cause I snapped that hot fire, you heard? And I rep that power on all day. And your next host, you already know, giving you the strategical and analytical views. He is the brainiac of the crew. He is the president of the Epic Sax Party, the king of the Pikachu Party. He is It's Guess Gaming. And last but not least, of course, guys, he is the infinitiest player in the game. He is the variant god. He got every variant in the game. Every variant? Every variant. He is the super tech god. Let's go. Now, guys, I usually do topics that they send me, you know, and I tell you guys what we got up in the show, but they sent that 30 seconds past deadline. Got them right here. So you know what? Past deadline, we're nothing without our principles, guys. Gone. Over. Instead, I was thinking, I hit my mic. I was thinking we should do Cino fun facts for this intro. I think that would be better. All right. Cino fun fact number 1. Okay, guys, I am in fact older than It's Guess Gaming. He is my little brother. Cino fun fact number 2. What makes STG great? Cino makes STG great. Cino fun fact number 3. Cino loves cookie dough ice cream. Loves it. Cino fun fact number 4. He only eats soft baked chocolate chip cookies. That's it. Cino fun fact number 5. Cino only wears Jordans on his feet. Only exceptions, Uptowns and Cheese Tims. Brooklyn, New York, you already know. Have to. Cino fun fact 555. Cino does not like healthy food. Spinach, broccoli, cauliflower, out of here. Cino fun fact 556. Are we still there? I feel like they probably cut me off by now. Damn.
Welcome back to the live episode of the Marvel Snapcast podcast. I'm one of your hosts, the wonderful STG, the gentleman with every variant in the game.
Every variant?
That's right.
When are you gonna get that?
I know.
In timing right? My God, it's a conversation. It goes every variant. Every variant. You did it with Cino. My God.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not him.
It's okay. It's all right. My fault. And of course, with the one and only, the epic sax man himself, It's Guess Gaming. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the live episode. Where all the takes are gonna be live. So enjoy.
Yeah, literally. We're live here because last night, normally we record on Thursday nights, but last night was yesterday was Brazilian Valentine's Day, because Brazil is different sometimes with their different holidays at the different times of the year. And ours was last night. So I spent the night obviously with my family and my wife. And I was like, look, I need to be a good husband. And Ken was like, yeah, sure. You go ahead, be that guy. That's fine. So we're recording this live right now while I'm on Twitch on Friday morning to go over, well, basically the world of Marvel Snap right now. So Ken, you lead the way.
Yeah. So how was things? How was last night? You had a good time? You guys had dinner?
Yeah, honestly, here's the thing, because we are a international family, so sometimes there are holidays that are split in the sense of there's two, because we have like Valentine's Day. The American Valentine's Day is obviously in February, and then Brazilian Valentine's Day is in June. We recognize both, but we more so celebrate the February one. And then the same thing also happens with Father's Day. Father's Day is also different in Brazil as well. So the dates are a little different. So we have to kind of like pick and choose of which ones we want to celebrate when and why. So we recognize them for Valentine's Day because it just gives us, reason to, celebrate, to say the least. And I was like, yeah, no, we had a nice dinner. Had everybody, the whole family was, together. And that's the whole goal for us. Is it's a celebration of love, not just a couple. So, we try to make sure that our kids understand how important that connection is as well for our family, that we all love each other. And so we had a nice dinner together as well. So it was quite nice.
Awesome.
It was a nice night.
Did you cook or did you order? Did you cook or did you order?
No, we actually ordered. Typically I'll do a cook on the February one, but on this one, it was like, what do we all like? Really good takeout burgers, and all four of us were all about that idea, and that not like McDonald's or any of that kind of like fast food stuff, but like real artisanal type stuff. And oh man, it was so good. I had a burger that had like artisanal.
Okay, so make sure. Say, what you doing on that?
Yeah, no. Artisanal. Craft burgers, if you will. But like, I had one last night with like Parmesan and truffle and fried onions, and oh man, it was so good. It was so good. So very happy with that.
I do watch you eat those foods on stream, and
this is true.
I know you cook it up, so that's why I had to ask what you guys got.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you guys had a great time. That's right. It's very important about love for everyone in the family. So that's awesome to hear. And speaking about love, I don't think a lot of people love this next car we're about to introduce, and that is, of course, the Ancient
I like
one.
this. I like your transition there.
Thank you very much. The Ancient one, I mean, listen, I myself did not really enjoy the card. I mean, to be honest, I didn't really play the card as much either, right? I've been trying to climb on stream, as some of you may or may not know, and I've been playing, Infinite decks. So I'm really more excited for the next card we're talking about. But let's talk about Ancient One. I did play 2 to 3 decks with it. I did get slapped by it as well. And that deck, of course, was Cerebro 5 during the hot location Camelot, right? Yeah. Turning your card's base power to 5. And with Ancient One and the Tau Mandela, just being able to get 5 cost Cerebros and multiple Cerebros in the lane, getting 45 power across the board. I mean, I think that's the best home for her. I don't know if any other home makes sense for the Ancient One, unless you're trying to do some type of, Sarah, bunch of Sarah, turn 1, have number 1 cost cards. Nonetheless, for me, I'm giving this card, I mean, like I said before, I'm giving it a gold. I think it's right there, right above double silver, a gold for me. How do you feel about it?
I'm torn on the card because it's personally not a style of card I see myself wanting to play regularly. But there are certain decks that it is showing some success in, like Victoria Hand and Patriot. And for me, I'm underwhelmed because I constantly feel like it's clunky. It feels like as a 3/5 going into another 3 cost, knowing that you're trying to get ongoings specifically to be duplicated, if you don't get this down on turn 3, I feel like you just don't play the card. And for that reason, I very often feel like I want to skip it. Like I could just replace it for something else that has more flexibility. The effect is cool.
Something else, I agree.
Yeah, exactly. Moonstone seems to be, you have a higher chance to draw it, and total cost investment into it is less. I was very, very underwhelmed by this card. This is something that I haven't felt like this about a card since Infinity Ultron, where you've got multiple steps, but it feels like the steps are happening at the wrong times to make the effect do the thing that you want it to do. For that same reason, I think the Ancient One eventually becomes a 2/3 with the 3 cost Tau Mandala, because it needs that same kind of curve like Penny. And even Penny Parker is still kind of, rescinded a bit as like, it's not really the best card in the world, but it's an option that you can play. I think that would help this card tremendously, especially for things like Cerebro 3. Now we're actually talking about something really cool. I just think at 3/5 to then go into another 3 cost, it is way too clunky. I'm leaving this as a silver card. I was very underwhelmed.
So what about changing the Mandela to probably a 2 or a 1 cost? I think maybe keeping her a 3/5, but making that spell a little bit less expensive. Because at least this way, if you draw it and you play it on turn 4 and it's a one cost, at least 5 and 6, you have a chance to go ahead and play it with the other ongoing cards that's on the field.
I worry about reducing the cost of the Tal Mandala, because that I feel like actually is too broken. I think the Tal Mandala has to be a 3 cost because of the potential effect that comes. Like, you can never have this be a 1 cost. Never. Never. Because the idea of playing Claw plus Tal Mandala in a lane on turn 6, or Blue Marvel plus Tal Mandala in a lane on turn 6, that's just too broken. At 2 cost, you could still do it with some energy cheat and do things like Luna, because you're getting 2 cards into a lane that both can have their effects replaced. You know, you've got your other energy ramping mechanics. I do think that this is a card that needs some tweaking, but if they tweak the Tal Mandala, which I really don't expect them to do, if they make that a 2 cost, the value of this card quintuples, because of the ability to cheat out 1 extra energy for turn 6 to play this in a 4 cost card. I think that flexibility really helps it tremendously, and that in a 5 cost card, like, that really gives it what it needs to go over the top. It's just too clunky right now.
All right, that's fair. Yeah. So what's your score for it? What's your
it's a silver. It's a silver.
You give it a straight silver. Okay.
Straight silver.
I get it. That's fair. Next, we're going to preview the card that I feel everyone's going to enjoy this upcoming week, and that's Nightmare. I did put a tweet out day 1 of seeing the video that this card is going to be amazing. The face I will make when I drop a 620 Galactus on the last turn. I think this is phenomenal. I think this card is going to be epic. The fact that it's on reveal, replace the text of each card in your hand with the text from a random card of the same cost is a huge RNG fun fest. I think a lot of people will enjoy, but 100% Sauron is the talk of the town. For me, it's cards that are normally in a Sauron deck, like the Ebony Maz, like the Red Skull, like the Infinite, that will benefit the most from this, because any random text that goes on those cards will help that deck out. So for me, again, I'm keeping this as a diamond. It's going to be a diamond card for me, 100%. How do you feel about it? Guess.
I'm a little scared of this card. There's some really scary things that can happen. Like, I'm surprised it's coming out as a 3-1. To be completely honest, I really am. I think that this 100% is a stat line that is just too good for what the effect does. You know, there are too many cards, like you talk about with the Infinite and Red Skull, and look at Starbrand and all of these cards. We remember the days, you and I, back of 3 cost Sauron, and it worked in the curve. You play down the armor on 2, Sauron on 3, and then do the Sauron things on 4, 5, 6. This is that same curve where you put this in a Sauron deck and you play it the same way, but you're not worried about Sauroning the negative effects. You're just changing them to really good effects. And as you go into certain costs, all of a sudden things really start changing. You know, you look at the 4 costs and the amount of 4 cost cards that have a downside once they start getting past 4/7. And it's quite a lot versus the amount of upside effects that happen at cost 4/6 or lower. And that conversion rate makes Nightmare a scary card, because then you can do some building and some chaotic things with it. Obviously, we talk about all of the Sauron cards. You know, you look at your Typhoid Mary, you look at your Red Skull, look at your, even Scar, just to think like, okay, Scar can also now be an Erisham. Okay, so it's just a straight 7/11, worst case scenario. Wah. Like, it's still a straight 7/11 right. You can ramp out there. Like, there's lots of other things you could do with this. It doesn't get bad. This card doesn't really get bad. And I think for that reason, it being a 3-1 is a mistake. I think that this card is going to absolutely dominate Marvel Snap. It is going to be the diamond card of the month, hands down. And I expect it to eventually be like a 3-3 or a 4-cost card that has to be ramped with Zabu. Because at 3-1, the -1 does not put enough of a downside considering how much upside you're probably building into the deck. Like, this is like just Ebony Maw alone is insanely good, you know?
No, I agree. I think this card originally data mine at 2/2, right? So they definitely saw something.
Oh my god!
Like, we had to make it a 3-1. If it was a 2/2, even worse.
Oh my god!
So I mean, as you remember back in the beta days, Mr. Negative is a 4/4, right? Which was unacceptable. So the -1 is, like you said, it's to tell us, hey, this card needs that negative energy to do X, Y, and Z. To be honest, we don't care about its cost. It could be -3. It could be -5. You think anybody cares at this point? I don't think anybody does. There's going to be decks that people find ways to bring this out early enough, or bring it out when they need to, and then destroy it if they need, or send it over with a Nihilist, or get a 5-cost, a Red Skull that turns into a Nihilist and send this card. Like, there's so many different things that can happen. But where I don't see it being too busted is the RNG things of it, right? So yes, we do talk about the Infinite, we do talk about the Ebony Maw, but if we do drop down an Infinite as a Taskmaster, then that's a waste, right? There's still a chance to get some type of bad card with those cards that have bad abilities. You know what I mean? So it's not like, hey, this card is going to 100% fix the bad cards. There are going to be some RNG stuff that will happen. But to what you're saying, Diamond card for sure, because of those Sauron cards that we feel need this. And the fact that Sauron still exists and Sauron is a 1-cost, it just makes things a whole lot crazier. Because you hit the cards in your deck, whatever cards in your hand, you hit them with Nightmare, and it is everybody have a blast. So I can't wait. I hope you're wrong and it's not busted and it's just right.
It's so busted. It's so busted. But I got to spin away for a second though on it, because it happened twice already in the podcast, and it really bothers me as a fellow New Yorker. I have to ask, why is it Ebony Maw and not Ebony Maw? Like, your New York is failing you. It's Ebony Maw, coffee, chocolate, Ebony Maw. Ebony Maw. Ebony Maw.
Boston.
Ebony Maw.
That sounds more Boston to me.
It's the Boston. See, you've been in your new state way too long now. So I'm good. It's been rubbing off on you, clearly. Ebony Maw.
Right, that's my Ma. Yo, Ma, come here, right? Like, yo, Ma, right? That's Brooklyn.
Yo, Ma.
Right, so Ebony Ma. Yo, Ma. Come here. That's the Brooklyn in me.
The meatloaf. Ma.
Facts. So that's how I look at it. We're watching this live, chat. So I just hope you're wrong, and I hope Nightmare is the Mr. Negative of that deck. Like, hey, if you get it, great. If you don't get it, it's a wrap, right? So Mr. Negative isn't that consistent right now. So I hope Nightmare is just that fun of a card where it doesn't take over the meta, and it's not a card that people use to always win. I just hope it brings fun to the game, and it has the same type of win rate like Mr. Negative. Now, if it doesn't and it surpasses that, nothing besides changing the card itself will fix that.
I equate this very much so to a better version of Cersei, right? Because Cersei has the same idea. It's that random transformation on a specific cost. Obviously, Cersei is going up 1 cost, which is why she's justified as a 5-cost card, versus this, which is of same cost, and it only affects the cards in the deck rather than what's already currently on the board that you've laid out. So, but the idea of the transformation is the same. It's just changing the effect onto the card itself. And I think I really do think this is a scary card to have come to the game. And like, I know what's going to happen after this podcast is I'm going to start breaking down. I'm going to look at all of the cards, figure out which ones have which cost has the highest. And I'm pretty sure it's 4 cost. I think it's 4 cost that has the highest number of what we'll call downside cards that you can build around versus upside cards. And I'm really scared for what this card is going to potentially. I know you just want to do a 620 Galactus. Once you do that, I don't know if you'll ever play the card again, but I know you just want to do a 620 Galactus just to say you did.
I just do 620 anything with Infinite.
Yeah.
Yes.
Done.
Because it removes that that restriction. I have to skip. No, I don't. You know what I mean? Like, that is just so great.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with you. I already started building decks, thinking about video ideas. Like, I'm so pumped for this card, and I guess it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy.
This is going to be the diamond card of the month, hands down.
Agreed. So, speaking about diamond cards, speaking about decks, let's go ahead and dive into our next topic, which of course is the Golden Gauntlet top decks. Now, if the Golden Gauntlet came out this weekend, would Nightmare be in the top 5 decks? That is the question I have for you.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I do.
For sure.
I honestly, I don't mind me because my dog is being very needy, so I'm trying to get him settled here at the same time. But like, I think that Nightmare, maybe not in the sense of that, like we saw Surge absolutely dominate both Golden Gauntlets for all of the right reasons, because Surge is such a plug and playable card, and it goes into a variety of different decks comfortably. Nightmare decks, after seeing Song YY take the Sauron deck into the top 8, I know for a fact people will take that deck, make one replacement, and then just call it a day and say, okay, look, Nightmare's in here, we're good to go. Yeah. There's an argument to be made. There's an argument to be made that the card you take out is either 0 or even Enchantress. And because it's just that strong of an effect and has that much value, I think it's just going to be stupid good. If Golden Gauntlet were to happen in the world of like the following weeks in like Dormammu, you won't see that. It's too combo-y. But I do think that it hands down is going to be like Nightmare would be making a very large appearance. I think it's worth talking a little bit, looking at the Golden Gauntlet, right? I think it's worth talking a bit about how through both, really prominently through both Golden Gauntlets, the prominence of Thanos.
Thanos, 100%.
I mean, and in different ways, because in the first Golden Gauntlet, it's a smaller pool of players. And in that smaller pool of players, more players brought Thanos because it was a very established meta. And there were multiple variations of Thanos that were generally successful. Then by the second Golden... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you got it. I'm with you.
And then by the second Golden Gauntlet, after they saw, Thanos go down, and then Thanos was adjusted slightly, we saw less of it percentage-wise, even though it was 3 times the amount of players. Even still, the deck performed well as a deck, as well as in, its, what we'll call alternate variation of 34-card Monty, because it's just so easy in that 34-card Monty to get down that, super cheap comparatively, down on turn 5/12 Thanos. And it brought back to I forget who, somebody mentioned it in my chat the other day, and I had forgotten that it even existed. The idea of legendary cards, where you can only have one legendary card in a deck. So the idea that, like, imagine Thanos, Arishem, Galactus, basically how we kind of thought about big bads previously. You could think about certain cards having a legendary style label or effect that you can't deck build. You can't bring a deck into a match if it has more than one of those cards. And I think for the 34-card Monty, which is temporarily a good deck, that's a solution for that. But tournament-wise, I didn't see that being a solution. I think we're at the point right now with Thanos that it's not a meta breaker, but it's a very dominant tournament deck. And if they continue to do more tournaments, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, come on, second dinner, let's do more of these. I think you absolutely need to look at Thanos and figure out how to make him a little bit more controlled in that specific, like, dynamic.
Right. Because it's great for ladder. We don't want it for battle or tournament or conquest.
Yeah.
That's the tricky part, right? The tricky part is the cards that are great in ladder. can also be great in Conquest and overpowering in Conquest, but we want to kind of have that balance. And Thanos does not bring that balance somewhat. But a Thanos player did not win either one of the gauntlets.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's the funny part. But we did have these top 8 decks here that we can look at. And like you said, Sauron got brought into the top 8. Surge was the key card. In majority of these decks, we do have the 2 Erisham decks. And of course, we do have the wonderful 3 or more Thanos decks. So I do agree with you. It is a theme going on here, right? It's Thanos and, of course, the Erisham deck, which we will then go into our final 4 list to see exactly what that looked like, because that too only had some of the cards that you just saw from the top 8. Here is the final 4 for you guys. And again, we go back to the Surge with Erisham. We have, of course, the Agamotto kind of clog deck, which is cool. Again, Surge is in there as well. Another Surge deck, of course, with the kind of mill deck right there with Gladiator and everybody else, Shang-Chi, and of course, Fenris Wolf, and of course, another Thanos into the top 4. So the interesting piece of all of this is the deck that actually won. And of course, is the Surge with the Erisham and Thanos, etc., etc. So I was wrong in saying no Thanos deck won. I'm sorry, 34 card Monty Thanos deck won from our champion Roram. And there it is right there. The Surge, Valentina, Juggernaut, Shang-Chi, Galacta, Enchantress, Legion, Agamotto, Alioth, Mockingbird, Thanos, and Erisham. Now Roram was in the lower half and was able to pull through and win the victory with this phenomenal list. And I know a lot of people aren't too happy about that, but it is a tournament where every card is allowed. And even though Erisham is very strong, it is an RNG based deck. And we all know in tournaments, being able to not plan for your opponent is always the way to go. So guess, how do you feel about this deck? And do you think in any of the other Golden Gauntlets to come, wink, wink, do we consider making rules of legendary cards or banning cards?
So there's a couple of ways we could go about it from a tournament perspective, and several ways to look at it from a community perspective. First off, in regards to this specific deck, for those who are on the audio listener side, it's Surge, Valentina, Juggernaut, Shang-Chi, Galacta, Enchantress, Legion, Agamotto, Alioth, Mockingbird, Thanos, and Erisham. So hence 34 card Monty. The deck has a couple of incredibly strong points. Okay, number one, it has randomness every single game, which means you have a knowledge advantage over your opponent. So anytime you have that in a competitive game, you already are walking into an advantage, even if it's something like an Agent Coulson, because you got 2 cards that you know of that are different every time that your opponent does not know of. And you can surprise them, even though it's a more limited pool of what it could potentially be. That's supposed to be the downside generally to Erisham, where the upside is then the extra energy. The issue is that the extra energy is allowing Thanos, who's guaranteed to start in your hand, to get dropped down as a consistent, safe, always turn 5 play for 12 power. The randomness that goes around that is then where you're playing into. Can you win, in my opinion, what would end up being 1.5 lanes? Now, you don't have to win 2 lanes because you just put 12 power down on turn 5. You have to win 1.5 lanes.
Correct.
Over randomness over the rest of the game. And that is where the strength of the deck currently lies. In competitive gaming, that will consistently be present. You will see Erisham players. You are going to see card generation, Victoria Hand style players. You're going to see them. It's going to happen. Do I think it needs to? Do I think Erisham needs to be nerfed? As much as I personally don't like to play the card and I don't like the card itself, I don't think from a competitive standpoint that Erisham at the moment is a detrimental card for the tournament scene because it is incredibly difficult to pilot. But with that said, Erisham plus the guaranteed 5/12, a turn 5/12 power card is a problem that I do think may need to be looked at in the future if we see this become a problem on ladder. Keywords, if we see this become a problem on ladder. I don't think this is going to become a problem on ladder. And even if you look at your local, statistics for your favorite trackers, I don't know why I said local, but you get what I fucking mean. All right. If you just look at you know what I mean? Your local newscast, your local news tracker. Yeah, that thing. Go look at your favorite tracker. And honestly, you're going to see that the deck is not performing incredibly well. It's got a positive win rate, but there are much better things to be doing on ladder, hands down. There are much, much, much better things to be doing.
Like I said before, ladder, you're playing a little different game here. You're playing a game where you want to surprise your opponent with the deck that you built and the skills that you have to win that game, right? You're not doing a gauntlet style of trying to win X amount of cubes. You just want to win your cubes for that one game and move on. So in ladder, this deck won't perform well because you are getting the randomness that you can't do what you need to do to surprise your opponent and win and move off with your 8 cubes. At least in Conquest, this is perfect because you are built with stamina in this deck. And like you said before, with that 5/12 Thanos, which, I'm going to say this a second, and I don't know why you gave Thanos that 2 power. You could have gave that 2 power to Infinite, but, I digress.
Shut your damn mouth.
I think that is one of the other problems here, giving Thanos that extra 2 power, which he did not need. The fact that Thanos also have the Soul Stone that can help protect him once he's down early in the Arisham decks is also another big issue. But nonetheless, this deck did win the championship. Shout out to Roram.
Yeah.
For pulling it off and being a Golden Gauntlet 2 champion. I'm excited to see more of this in the future, of course, and I hope we have some players that bring some other phenomenal decks.
I'm going to run one variation conversation off of this, though, because it is very tournament related. So
let's do it.
Imagine you're in a world where Marvel Snap says, listen, the tournaments generally are a success. And, obviously, those of us from Game On, we're looking at the data on the back end to figure out several different things that we want to decide. Is a single day event better? Is a 2-day event better? Is a 2-day event better in select, markets in particular? Is a single time better for certain, regions internationally, etc.? There's so many things to try to figure out there. What I do think is important to figure out is as we go through our conversations as Game On with Second Dinner, if they want to have a GG3 or they want to have GG3, 4, 5, 8, 12, whatever, they want to make a series, because that was something that I've tried doing in community aspects as well, having like a league and a series and things of that nature. I think one of the unique things is the conversation around bans, because bans, and we've had this happen with the Crown for the Power On tournaments as well. We banned Arisham to just remove that. Yeah. It's been banned, and we've played into that idea. However, do you think bans? Before I talk about my perspective on it, do you think bans are needed in the current state of Marvel Snap in the tournament scene right now?
I don't think bans are needed, but I think back to like other games where you have limit cards, right? So you can't have 2 or 3 of the same card. And of course, in Marvel Snap, you can't have multiples in the same deck. But I think back to not being able to have Arisham and Thanos in the same deck, right? Not being able to have X, Y, and Z and X, Y, and Z in the same deck. I think that would work better than just straight out banning the card. But the fact that we don't have that yet, or there's no real data to show, hey, we need to remove these 2 cards together. We, in the Crown, of course, we just focus on, hey, let's see you deck build outside of the Arisham RNG business, and we just take Arisham out completely. But I think if there's a way for us to look back and say, ban the ability to add these 2 cards together or these 3 cards in the same deck, then I think that's the better way to go than just straight out banning the card. Because let's not get it twisted. Arisham is a fun card, right? It is a good card to play, especially if you're new in the game and you don't have all the cards. Being able to play Arisham is a great feeling. But the people who are playing Arisham are the people that already have all the cards and they know how to combine Arisham with other cards to make it very OP or overpowering in the tournament scene. So that would be my take on banning cards.
So I've gone back and forth about this, about are bans needed? What do they do for the game? What do they present? And in the tournament scene, I think you have to look at it in comparison to Conquest, right? Because if you ban it in tournament, that means it's not good for Conquest, and you're looking at a general, currently consistently existing game mode. So I don't know if banning cards is necessarily the best direction to go for tournaments, because then as a game company, because remember, these events are buy second dinner. They're a official event. If you're saying you can't use a certain card, that's then the business saying, here, get this resource, use your resource, and then don't be able to use that resource in this thing where you could win resources. That doesn't make any sense. I get it for certain game modes where, of course, it's going to mess with just the, like a high voltage, you can't use Galactus. No shit. Like that I get. That I 100% get. Right. But of course, in what's technically a currently existing game mode, Conquest, that's what tournaments basically are. I don't think you're able to get away with doing that. What I do think you're able to control is themes. And I flash back to, a year and a half, 2 years ago, whatever it was now, when I had the Agatha Open. For those who don't know, right. I held an Agatha tournament where every deck had to have Agatha in it. And this was before Agatha was every other turn. So it was like literally the whole tournament was completely random. Yeah. So you had people playing discard variations. You had people playing so many different variations. And it was stupid fun. It was stupid fun.
Exactly.
And the deck that ended up winning was JD McDonald Gino, who ran a variation that played Master Mold, because Master Mold ended up screwing with all of the other Agatha decks because it just kept putting down the Sentinels because they're cheaper things. And it was playing into the theme and the parameters of that tournament. And then it makes me think, okay, one step further from that, you go back to the limited time events where we had certain cards had certain buffs to them, where, all right, this card has a +1 on it if you play it with this card, or this card has a +2 on it if you play it with this card. Right. Those are the different ways when there's themes to a tournament that I think that you get around the idea of needing to do bans, because you're needing to play into that idea. The imbalance patch, the pairing, the themed focus card, the whatever it is, those are the directions I'd like us to maybe potentially. And if we get tournaments in volume, then I think we're able to do that, because if you had like 2 tournaments a month, for example, you could do one tournament, what we'll call classic, just like GG1 and GG2. And then you have another tournament a month, which is more themed in some way. And you can time it with an imbalance patch that way too, and have it be like, hey, this tournament's happening during this imbalance patch. You might want to deck build differently for it because of all of these synergies and partners, like different. That's what I really think would be more exciting for the tournament scene, because people do want variety. We've seen that with the conversation with draft mode extensively, which we'll talk about later. But I think that people want tournament variety rather than just, okay, consistently, here's the Swiss into a top cut. Did you make it? Yes or no? Call it a day.
Listen, I agree with you. I do that on my Discord all the time. As you know, we do Tournament of Power, where it's like we ban all the Killmongers, Shang-Chi's, like everybody bring big cards and don't worry about any cards taking any of your power. No Enchantress, none of that stuff. We've done tournaments where it's like, hey, only bring the Infinite, only do this. So yes, people enjoy variety in playing different tournaments. It's again all about us having the ability to do exactly that, guys. And I totally agree. That would be something that's super fun, especially if you could do 2 tournaments a month. I think that'd be awesome to do. So right now, as far as banning goes, though, however, again, for most tournaments, it just makes life easier to not have to worry about that specific card or that crazy combo by banning the cards.
Yeah, I think there's some cool things we could do with the tournament scene. But I do want to hear from the community in the comments, if you're on the YouTube side or on the Spotify side where you can make comments down below. Please do so.
And record your comments.
Yeah, and let us know what you would want to see and different variations of what you would want to see, because these are things that we can also, as Game On Events, our company, we can present to Second Dinner and say, hey, listen, these are requests, or these are different ideas that we can do for different themes or variations on a quote unquote classic style tournament that we could just throw in to make something different, because we always want to have variation, just like how we always want to have new game modes coming to the game. We always want to have new things to do. We should also have new tournaments to put on. And it's easy comparatively when the only thing you need to change is your deck building restrictions, but not by saying, here's a regular tournament minus this card. That's not what you do. You can't do it that way.
You can't, but we have.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying. I totally agree. But yeah, definitely we're looking to do some crazier, more fun tournaments in the future. But I totally agree with you on that. And speaking about things of the future, let's talk about the new web shop by the wonderful team at Second Dinner Marvel Snap. Now, this web shop looks phenomenal compared to the previous web shop. No knock on the previous web shop developers, but this web shop looks super awesome. Super futuristic, as you guys can see here. We have the wonderful bar at the top. Of course, we call this the whale track. Love how easy and smooth it is to scan through and also see what's left over here on the side. Of course, you can log in and claim your rewards. And then they have a nice little wheel here showing you the top awesome things you can get or you should focus on, right? Which would be the web shop bundle for the Iron Man, the new launch celebration, of course, and of everything else that goes along with it. The season pass. And I love the imaging, love the highlights over the images. Is pretty awesome. As you guys know, I'm a big variant fan lover. We do variant videos every week. And I like to get very detailed about what I see when it comes to the art style. And I love how they have this plate of goodness for you to consume, right? You have the copycat variant, you have the gold, you have the tokens, you have the border. I love everything here on the new website. And of course, I know there's some functionality that is missing. You do get free 200 gold every day, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Don't forget to go ahead and get your free 200 credits. All right. And of course, what is missing is the ability to gift to our community, which we normally do all the time. And of course, with new things roll out, things might come up like this. So guys, like I tell everybody on stream, be patient. Those things will return or come in a different and better package. Nonetheless, to me, I give this new web shop recreation a double platinum.
So in regards to the new website, a couple of things that I want to showcase, I want to talk about. And one of them is going to be a straight up shill moment. So I'm going to get that one out of the way. I'm going to promote the web shop as the only place you should always buy your resources from all the time. Because for those who do not know, when it comes to game development, if you buy something on Steam or buy something on your phone, whether you have a Google, platform or you have an iOS, if you make purchases through it, Second Dinner does not get all of that money because some of it has to be allocated to the platform in which it was purchased from. So what I'm going to say is, if you really want to see this game succeed and you want to support this game in the best possible way for the game, use the web shop, because Second Dinner gets a larger cut out of that money by doing it that way 100% of the time, always.
Yeah, and just to stop you right there, also, as you guys didn't know, in the news, Apple did lose the battle of trying to monopolize the whole shop thing, right? They lost that battle to Fortnite and that crew. So agree 100%, support your developers, and go ahead and purchase support the web shop. And I know they have to allow third-party purchasing. So I'm happy to see that because, again, Apple already has a platform or Google already have the platform that they use to make their funds, at least help support the developers so they can go ahead and enjoy what they do and give us more of it, right? So continue, guys.
So that's the shill moment right there. Just get that out of the way because I need to, I want to support the people who have supported me. The game has been very good to me. They've been absolutely fantastic, in regards to supporting my content and allowing me to be a part of content for them. That's the least I can do is make a mention on a fucking podcast. Okay. Now, in regards to the actual shop itself, there are things I like about the shop. I like the visual aesthetic of the shop much more. Very, very much so. However, I do not like the rotating wheel because I think it rotates way too fast. I don't know about you. Because it moves too fast. I think they need to slow down that interval because I know they want you to be like, oh, look, there's other things to see here, but it doesn't even give you enough time to read everything. So I think that's a little bit.
Span is horrible. That's why. But
I know we grow up in a TikTok world. So yeah, I mean, people's attention spans are awful, but generally speaking, I don't like seeing that fly by so quickly. and there's only 3 things in it. So if you don't move the page, like if you're watching this on YouTube, you've seen that loot launch loot bundle about 27 times in the span of 3 minutes or whatever. It moves a little fast. That's just me personally.
Yes. Hurry up and buy. Just hurry up and buy. Click the buy button. You're done. The next, you have nothing to worry about. Hurry up and buy.
Yeah, well, that's the difference between you and me. Hurry up and buy is your answer. Hurry up and buy is not my answer.
That's fair.
Plain and simple. In regards to the layout of it, I think, obviously they're going to throw the season pass in your face first because it generally is the best place. I just feel like it's a little redundant to have 2 different things of top deals and then top extra focused things that are on rotating wheels and then have all the bundles a third time down there. I think you're just like over cluttering. Personally, it's just like the OCD side of me gets a little bit like there's just too much here. Like this could just look a lot cleaner by removing some of the extra, oh, look, we made this fancy. No, you don't need to make it fancy. You need to make it simple. You need to make it clean. And the visual aesthetic is already great and sells it all by itself. Like you said, all of the actual artwork that they've added it on in for the bundles to showcase, here's the card and the border and the gold and the credits and the tokens. And like all of that is beautifully done. Big fan of that. But the marketing side of me has one critique that I'm going to throw to them, which is underneath the season pass. The next thing underneath that should be the gold pass, hands down, because the gold pass for such a low amount per month that you can stack consistently, I think that should be promoted way higher up rather than right by the gold. The marketing side of me is going, why is that not more prominent to get people to spend that $5? Considering it's only a $50 drip of gold per day, that's all you get. It doesn't break the economy if you sell it that fast. So there's that element of me where I'm going, this is a missed opportunity because the 2 best values in the game are the season pass and then the gold pass. They should be front and center to get people to spend $15 to $25 a month right there. But the gold pass is all the way down at the very bottom. That's a criticism I have about it, but that's because I come from a different marketing and background. Outside of that, I do think this is an upgrade from the past shop. I think the visual aesthetic is absolutely much better. They are on their way to making this cleaner and more accessible to more people. And they're taking feedback on it too, because for example, when it launched, it didn't have PayPal. And then creators, I know us in the creator chats, we were talking about it going like, hey, where's PayPal? That's like one of the most prominent pay services. And they had that up in 24 hours. Like they're taking those feedbacks, they're building the tools for gifting to a friend. So that way, people like ourselves, where we do events and we want to gift out, different bundles or season passes or whatever, we'll have the ability to do that. But for a first launch, you've got to give it a double diamond because this is generally an upgrade, because once it has the last couple of little things that it might be missing, keyword might be missing, this is overall a huge step in the right direction. And it's just part of the progress of, self-publishing.
No, totally agree. I can't agree more. Like I said, I'm enjoying the new look. I definitely enjoyed it a lot. I know you have your little gripes on the wheels and stuff. I get that. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. Great step in the right direction. And I like it way better than the last site. So that's what I'm saying. It looks way better than the last site. And that's the biggest thing, right? When it's more eye appealing, people are quick to go and stay in there and look around and see what they want to get. Now, speaking of things that are eye appealing and thought provoking, do we think Snap needs a draft mode? Guess I'm gonna let you run with this first before I give you my takes.
Okay. So I'm still hearing this conversation, and I think it's worth bringing up again because draft mode is one of the most common community comments we see, especially since the Chinese version of the game implemented a variation of draft mode. And I'm gonna promote Skosko over on Snap.fan, who did a great demonstration and breakdown in his article over on Snap.fan to showcase what the Chinese client does for their draft mode, things that are different, things that are the same versus what we know from other websites and third-party tools like Draftinator, and if that makes sense to bring over to MarvelSnap. I'm personally consistently torn about draft mode because on the one end, I'm a full-time content creator and I have the time to sit down and dedicate a longer period of time to a game mode, to an event, to a thing that, something like draft mode would be kind of inclined to be. Drafting, if you haven't done it in any other game, there's no fast way to really do draft well, in my opinion, because draft wants to be more than just 2 people. You want draft to be at least 4 people, passing decks or cards or options around. When you do it between 2 as a back and forth, like it can work, but it feels like it's just an inconvenience if something gets drafted to your opponent versus yourself. And you just kind of dance around it because there's 300 something cards in the game. So it doesn't really, hurt you. As a promoter of the game, as a fan of the game, as a player of the game, I would personally love a draft mode, but that's only because I have the time. It's my job. For the other 99% of the people in the world who play Marvel Snap, for the idea of faster is better, people got pissed off at Deadpool's Diner because it was longer sometimes than a regular ladder match. And people don't play Conquest because that shit takes too long. People don't play in tournaments because they can't dedicate hours at a time for certain, Snap related events. What makes you think the community is going to receive a game mode that takes longer than high fucking voltage?
I think because that mode will get people more into the game as a first step. So like the Erisham that we mentioned earlier, give people who don't have cards or don't have the game a taste of what it could be. I think draft mode gives people that ability to say, hey, I actually like this card. I actually like this game. I actually like this. Okay, now I'm going to switch focus on actually playing the game and trying to get the cards that I like and never touch draft mode again. I mean, that is something that could happen. Or people only will use draft mode in that kind of scene where it's like, hey, I have 5 friends over. Let's go ahead and draft decks and have a blast and play. Also, I think, yes, you're right. We are content creators. Yes, we dedicate time to the game, but this might also open up a new set of content creators that only play draft mode, that only do content on draft mode. And I think that's also something that would be great for the game. So that's how I feel about that.
I think there's one contingent thing based on, if I'm understanding your version of it right, I think there's a major problem with your proposal, which is you believe draft mode to give you access to all of the cards.
Not access to all, but just like Erisham, cards that are at random, right? That you don't have. So if you're a brand new player and you got Erisham and you played Erisham and you got all these different cards, like, ooh, I like this card. Oh, okay, how can I get this card? And that would be your focus.
So then you end up with a problem because Erisham, you can't get Erisham until, what is it, collection level like about 1,000 once you enter into Series 3, and then you have the option to wait and see if maybe it pops up in your store and you use collector's tokens for it. That's the fastest you can get it. If you're implementing a game mode, it has to be accessible to all people right away. It has to be somebody that if they downloaded the game, they could play ladder, they can go into Conquest, and if there's a featured game mode like Deadpool's Diner, they can bring any deck in at any given point. If you have that happen for Conquest, you have to have people that have at least a certain collection level in your variation, which means you're now,
just like we do now,
blocking people off from playing in that mode unless if they're collection level 1,000. And that completely contradicts what your whole goal is, which is to bring new people in, because to get to collection level 1,000, you still have to play the game for X amount of time.
Right. But at that point, when somebody new see that draft mode from somebody who's been playing it for a while and they see the cards, they might themselves now want to go and try draft mode. And to do that, you have to go through all those hurdles. You still will bring new people in because they see that this is a draft mode that exists. So the difference is a person seeing you and I play and go, how long have you been playing the game? For 3 years. Okay, I can't do that time. Them coming in and see somebody who's playing the game for just 2 months or less than that, for 30 days, and seeing that, oh, this draft mode looks fun. How long have you been playing the game? Oh, only for a couple of weeks. Okay. And they might take that step to dive in because a couple of weeks versus 3 years is a huge difference. So I think the more variety you give to the game, the more people you get to come into the game. And I think, like I said, that also changes the dynamic of content creation, where people might strictly only do content creation on draft mode. They don't care about conquest. They don't care about ladder. They just want to do draft mode things and do fun, cool things with that.
I completely disagree, because I don't think you get I don't think you get a wave of content creators with draft mode. I honestly think you get a wave of content creators with what we're already doing with tournaments, because the tournament system and the new snap pack system they coincide and coexist together to bring people to the game, accelerate their collections as fast as possible so they can be competitive. That's what I think that brings more people to the game, and I have proof of that at this point.
But what if? Hold on, I'll let you finish. But what if draft mode ignites more tournaments? People go, instead of you having to build a deck and submit a deck, we do tournaments based on draft mode. You draft your deck one day, you battle it out the second day. It's the same thing, right? You're still bringing tournaments, which is bringing more eyes to people, which is bringing more people into the game with tournaments. Wouldn't draft mode be an easier way for new players to get more involved with the tournament, not having to worry about these people have been playing the game for X amount of years so they can build the best decks, versus we're all on the same playing field because we all played, we all drafting decks and then going into the tournament?
No, because tournaments do not need draft mode. Draft mode needs tournaments. And I think that tournaments already has the ability to provide that customization. They have the ability to say, here, we're going to put in this restriction, or we're going to put in this theme, or we're going to put in this style and do a double elimination. I do think that there is a way that in the current tournament scene that is already starting to evolve in Marvel Snap, that hunger for variation and indifference and getting people to be competitive already currently exists and will continue to thrive and grow. Draft mode would have to be strong enough to survive on its own to be developed as a game mode. And we see the proof of what that happened because they learned their lesson from Conquest, in my opinion. I believe Second Dinner regrets making Conquest mode, but is so thankful for friendly games because Conquest bombed. Let's be honest here. Conquest itself gets played 2 days a week. It gets played on hot location days, which is another topic for another cocktail. But I think it is something that I don't think Second Dinner looks back and goes, you know what we really hit out of the park? Conquest. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They have to know that by this point. But I think that tournaments and friendly battles and being able to play with your friends and do testings and stuff, that absolutely does make sense, in my opinion. I don't think tournaments would need to have draft mode to give tournaments variation, but tournaments would be a necessity for draft mode to be successful. So I lean more in the end of tournaments giving that option. Now, again, don't get me wrong.
No, I'm with you.
I like the idea of draft mode to a certain degree. I would be interested to play it, but that's me personally. I think if you ask the majority of the people who actually play the game, not people who play at the levels that we do, if you ask the majority of people, they're interested in draft mode until they see the time commitment to play it. Then they're like, you know what? I'm just going to hop into ladder real quick, or I'm just going to hop into high voltage real quick. That's the counterpoint I make there.
Perfect. Okay, so I agree with you with Conquest mode. I still think high voltage should be the new Conquest mode and get rid of the old Conquest mode. Speaking of high voltage and the fast gameplay, what if draft mode wasn't a sit back and wait 2 minutes to see what cards you get? What if draft mode would push a button and how it auto creates a deck for you, it automatically gives you a drafted deck? What if you had those type of draft modes? So you could have the slow one where people have the dedicated time and they're bidding on what cards they want. And then you have the ones that do the auto deck complete draft mode where you come in, hit the button, voila, here's a deck for you with all the cards in the game. Here's a deck, go ahead and battle. Then that eliminates people dedicating time to have to sit around and wait for the draft. They have their decks, they're ready to go. Would that make a difference?
Well, yeah, because you're just making a whole different fucking game mode. That's not draft. That's just that's bringing the Snap auto. That's bringing the Snap Summer series back from 2 years ago that the content creators did with the auto builder. That's all that is. That's not draft though in any way, shape, or form.
That's fair.
I think you're building a new event is what you're doing. you're drafting maybe 3 cards and then hitting click random, or you're just saying click random. Now the other the other problem with click random is if you do that right now in the auto builder, it will give you a randomly generated top performing deck. It's going to tell you what good performing decks are. You could try this right now. Go into your collection, go into the decks, just no cards in there, just hit the plus button, and it will generate a random deck that is well performing that you have the cards for to play right now. That's what you absolutely have. Right. Yeah, based on your collection.
Correct.
So that's what it's going to do. That's not a game mode. And we saw that based on the results of how that content creator event was made too. That's not a game mode. That's not an event. That's not a theme. That doesn't succeed. I think drafting is drafting. It's you need to pick 12 cards. Your opponent needs to pick 12 cards. And any variation of cutting that short, whether it's like picking 3 and then the rest are random, or picking 6 and then the other 6 are picked by your opponent because of what they didn't choose and they're randomly chosen out of that pile. If you don't get to pick 12 cards, in my opinion, it's not draft mode.
Okay. Fair.
And that takes too long.
If you don't get to pick 12 cards. And it's well, people could dedicate time to it, is my whole point.
But they won't. They won't. People will dedicate time to taking their time on a conquest match and getting infinity conquest, borders and titles and things of that nature.
But that's not as fun as draft mode would be. Sitting
that's
around.
Subjective.
Listen, the people who want to play, okay. So we're going to say there's people out here who don't play Conquest, but forget about ladder. There are people out here that just play Conquest mode and say, I don't want to play ladder at all. So there's people that do like that mode. There's people who like Deadpool Diner, but don't like high voltage. People who like high voltage that don't like this mode. There's people that like their mode. So if there is a draft mode that comes out, we have to figure out if it will be enough players that want to play draft mode. And I think giving everyone that ability to play something else after finishing Conquest or after finishing ladder or after finishing the high voltage, etc., I think will be a plus and not a negative. For those people who don't want to dedicate time, you won't dedicate time anyway for anything, right? You don't care to play Snap because of blank. You won't play in tournaments because of blank. But the people who want to dedicate time, who wants to be in the tournaments, that want to play draft mode, they will do it. So how would it be a negative versus a positive by bringing something different and new to the game is where I'm confused. Because it makes it sound like you're saying you would love to play draft mode, but because you're you. And people out here who don't dedicate time to tournaments won't even play draft mode. But what about the yous that play the game? What about the yous that enjoy the game? You don't have enough of that will love draft mode? Yes, baby girl, agreed, right? Exactly. Let him know.
I hear the baby girl in the background 100% agreeing with you. Now, counterpoint to that, the percentage of people that are like me, where, first off, that's a scary thing to even think about. But the percentage of people that are like me, that have the time and the interest to dedicate to a draft mode, I'm gonna take it in a very unique and God, I love this man, so I don't want this to be a negative thing towards him. Okay, I'm gonna talk about my man JJ Rolk. Right, JJ Rolk created for content creators an ability to create a draft mode in chat where chat can draft the cards. Now,
which has been fun, yes.
Yeah, and in many ways, very fun as a community engagement tool.
Yes. Here's
the problem. When you look at what happens in that, it's always recommended let your chat draft in the background while you go ahead and play. So the chat would draft a 12-card deck and it would take a half an hour just to draft a random deck that you then have to go play with. And you could use, whether you're bringing it on ladder for a match or a challenge or a whatever, right? It took a half an hour at up to 3 minutes per card because it was chat interaction. And that's a whole other thing. But I'm using that as a point of reference when it comes to the success rate of it, where this was brought out to a variety of different content creators, small and big. And the amount of people that saw it went, oh, wow, this is cool. When are we going back to ladder? It's a novelty. And again, it's not because what he created was bad. In my opinion, it's the best version of a draft mode I have seen in Marvel Snap, and that's including the Chinese client. I think JJ Rolk was the closest to get it right. But the time commitment to even doing that as a content creator, yet alone as a player. Even if you had it be a 30-second timer and you shaved it all down, the only way I see draft mode happening in Marvel Snap is to take that idea of drafting, separate it, and you have to build a random deck via draft, and then it's a separate queue where you have to use that deck and try to win a game with that deck. The problem is draft mode thrives well because you know what your opponent is drafting. It's not just build a random deck against a build a random deck, because now you're just basically making Arisham versus Arisham. I don't see a way that Marvel Snap can actually create a true draft mode that could be a game mode that is as fast as a regular ladder match and at longest a conquest match. I just don't see it happen. The pick 3 version that exists in China was what we saw with Draftinator as the website.
Right.
It's the same exact idea, but they just embellished a little bit further on it. That pick 3 to do that in, the time duration to do that battle and then go into a battle, that's just too long for the majority of people who play Marvel Snap. And I hate to say that the majority of people who play Marvel Snap, at least via the downloads, are in the US. And I'm sorry, I love my Americans. I'm American too. You're American too. We do not have the attention span to handle that. So I think it is just something that I personally have given up on.
Listen, I hear you, and I agree. And I think there are other games that we could talk about that people spend their time and attention on that you think they wouldn't. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I totally agree on that level. I just think we're both on the two different sides of, you think we don't need it, and I think more fun modes is better for everyone. But your points are valid, and I totally get it. I think there would have to be a market where draft mode is as important or as intriguing as the other modes that come out currently. Right. Because to put out a draft mode, like you said, right now, and nobody plays it, will be a waste of time for Second Dinner to develop. I just think it would have to be marketed properly. It would have to be different. I mean, that's what Second Dinner do. They make game modes, and the Snap itself is a game that is different and it's super fun and exciting.
Snaps.
Second Dinner, right. Second Dinner will have to Second Dinner-fy draft mode for it to be successful. So I think once Second Dinner can figure that out, then we should be in a good space. But until then, the typical draft mode, I agree, will not be the best for the majority of the players in Snap. Outside of draft mode, let's bring some other modes in that will be more fun that we can play and have a good time with, by giving us the keys to make changes to friendly battles. Being able to, like you said, change what cards do what imbalances work together, what locations come up all the time, that would be a great thing to do for tournaments, where the tournament producers can go ahead and change the layout of the rules, right? So the Gunny T's can go in and go, all right, this tournament will be strictly ego. Every match is ego, right? The location is ego. Like stuff like that, I think would be super fun if they gave us the tools to turn those dials and make changes to the tournament modes. Until then, I can't wait to see what Second Dinner has in store. I think so far the game has been going in a great direction since the blimp. Not to put any shade on the people.
Since the what?
The blimp. The blip, you know the blip?
The blip, yes. Not the big giant thing flying in the sky that says Goodyear.
Oh, no, not the blimp. I said the blip.
But the blip.
Did I say blimp first?
You said blimp 3 times.
I meant blip. Okay? Jeez Louise. We don't call it the blink, the blip. Guests can't understand my accent. It's totally fine.
No. If closed captioning is going to get that shit wrong on YouTube, I guarantee you it's not my fucking fault. It's going to go the blimp, 100%. the blimp. Yes, what the fuck?
Speaking of YouTube, our next segment is where we normally talk about or pull up comments from our last comments. But because we're doing this live, I know guests have a ton of people in chat. Is there any conversations or any words? The Goodyear blip? Yes, the Goodyear blip. Thank you. Right,
Jesus Christ.
Is there any conversations in here that we can pull up and talk about on stream? All right, let's see what we got. Can't deal with guests, I swear.
This is why we're friends, though.
Yes. Snap has a massive curve when it comes to the new players and returning players. It is a hard to catch up on cards. So draft mode would allow players to experience new cards without months of playing to be maybe get the cards you want. I like that comment, Spartix. I really agree with that. And maybe draft mode needs to be something that everybody can access the minute you start the game, and not when you're X collection level.
Maybe.
Okay.
I also like Wig's idea of an alternative. Wig Beezy came through with an alternative to draft mode, which is a version of high voltage that gives you a random new hand every turn for
like
3 turns, and then just you never know what it's going to be. Like that kind of randomness is interesting, but I think we're also going to get some of that randomness happening with High Voltage Overdrive later this season.
Yeah, no, but that makes sense too. I like that. Again, that's a way to second dinnerify a draft mode, right? I like that idea. That's pretty good. And of course, we have our co-host in the Snap chat, in your chat, talking about late but never missing. You shouldn't be late at all, buddy. You should be here live right next to us. People are 100% asking for you.
Yeah, people wanted to see you. So but I get it. Life and responsibilities. I get it.
Yes.
It is what it is.
Okay.
But it had to be a big boy and get a real job and stuff. Whatever. I see how it is.
Exactly.
You suck, but love you.
Make sure you guys watch the video on YouTube to see Cino, because he will be there at the very beginning.
Our hype man.
I wanted to make their own draft mode. Really feel like draft mode was more about this thing. And then, okay, listen, that's the person you mentioned. All right, listen, I like all the comments here. It is kind of split, it looks like, with chat. Some people want draft mode. Most people don't care about draft mode. They think it's overhyped. Shout out to the MVPs, Destructive One, and of course White Wayne Brady in the chat. All right, are there any characters not in the game yet you would hope to eventually see make it to the game? From Voss 451.
Mine still stand. I want Ned and I want Happy Hogan. I want them just to say that they exist in Marvel Snap. I don't know what the fuck they do, but I think that'd be silly enough. If we have Jeff, we can justify Ned.
Yeah, I agree. And mine still stands as Prowler from Miles. I want to see the Prowler card come to Marvel Snap. I think Prowler's a great villain, and I will be a sick card. And I did have some ideas of what I want Prowler to do, but I don't know if that's all going to change now. So we'll see what happens. All right, what tech card is overlooked in the past 2 Golden Gauntlets?
Quake.
What?
Sorry.
Yes, Quake will be the one. Wasn't Quake in one of the decks though? We were kind of surprised to see Quake show up.
That was an Arisham card, but that was just one of the best moments of Golden Gauntlet 2 was the Quake play. It was just so good. So one of my favorite clips.
What decks do you think? I agree. What decks do you think will be more popular in the high voltage overdrive next week? Anything with Black Panther and those big cards in there, like normally, right? I mean, those always are the best performing decks. So big cards.
Guardians, is going to be incredibly good again. Yes. They always seem to. It's the only time they really thrive. Let's be honest. It's the only time you play Guardians of the Galaxy outside of Rocket. You can justify sometimes Star-Lord, but everybody else has kind of fallen by the wayside. But I think that this is much better. To just let them thrive. And then, you can just go sit on the shelf. They don't need to be buffed. They just need the right game mode to be good.
Agreed.
I think people very much overlook 3-cost tech in the game mode. I think your main player cards, like your Cosmos, your Mobiuses, those cards are incredibly valuable. I don't think you should sleep on them. Just remember they exist.
They exist. Facts.
But the fact that Nightmare is also coming to the game at the same time, it's like, oh god,
I am so.
It's going to be just load all the big cards into a deck and then just spew.
I am. I'm hoping to go infinite soon, because last night was wasn't too good. People were openly coming into YouTube and saying, "Hey, Tech, I was watching your stream and I had to get 8 cubes from you." Like 4 people came in and said they were sniping, and I respect that. They came in and said it, but I'm just sucks. I'm like that. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's tough. I'm like, I didn't even know I was that big yet that I have to start blocking my screen. I didn't know that, but looks like I might have to now, I guess.
You've made the big time when you've also made the big time when you give a shit.
Yeah, that is fair. I was being real nice. I was real calm about it. I'm like, somebody said their brother told them not to do it. I was like, yeah, guys, don't do that. It's not nice. But nonetheless, what is your rank right now?
87, 86. I mean, I'm live right now. Cool. I'm going to go back to Snap. Yeah, 86 and a half. Yes. So I'm right in the middle right there. But yeah, I will say Mercury Cannonball Darkhawk. That Murkhawk deck was stupid good. Murkhawk. That's right. I think I'm gonna let the closed captioning enjoy that one. Murkhawk.
Yes, Murkhawk. I think I have to do some Mercury Cannonball myself because I would love to go infinite before the wonderful High Voltage and Nightmare. Nonetheless, that was a great take, especially on draft mode. Anything else you want to say before we head out?
Not at this time. I think we covered pretty much everything that I really wanted to talk about. And I just want people to honestly, if you made it this far in the video, not just subscribe, but more importantly, comment what you want to see happen and come to the game, whether it be about draft mode, whether it be about tournaments, whether it be about other game modes, what you want to see come to Marvel Snap, because we will do our best to communicate those over to Second Dinner and try and, give the people what they want as much as we can. We're just lowly content creators, but we like to have those kinds of conversations with the team whenever we get the chance. And the more ammo we have from the community, the better.
Community, yeah, of course. You guys saw they were in the chat. They were in guest chat.
Yep.
Shout out to Brady, of course. The man, the myth, the legend. Brady's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I don't know about Brady. Oh man, SD Brady, that guy. Yes, indeed. But yeah, as guest said, definitely let it be known what you guys want to see come to the game, and we'll do our best to go ahead and let the team know. All right. So again, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. Until the next episode, like guest said, subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.